When I first ventured into adult fantasy, I vaguely recall picking up The Rune Lords by David Farland, and then reading the first few chapters and returning it to the library. The opening is odd, but after recently seeing it at a used bookstore, I figured I could give it another try. And I'm glad I did. After getting past the initial chapters, I found an immense world similar in tone to the Wheel of Time and a magic system that evokes questions about its own morality. Evil creatures called Reavers have been wreaking havoc, and supposedly, to stop them, the Wolf Lord Raj Aten has been uniting all the lands by conquering them and forcing the kings to submit to his rule. Prince Gaborn and his father are seeking an alliance with King Silveresta to resist Raj Aten, but the Wolf Lord suddenly arrives and subdues King Silveresta. With the help of Princess Iom and an Earth Wizard, Gaborn must find a way to stop Raj Aten from finishing his conquest of King Silveresta's country. The Rune Lords is Gaborn's coming-of-age story. He's already 17 or 18, but he has lived the life of a prince and is in many ways naive to the world's harsh realities. The kings lead with practicality, but Gaborn leads with his heart more than his head. As he strives to thwart Raj Aten's latest conquest, he wonders if doing good is actually possible in a world that has suddenly turned gray. For he realizes those in authority don't always have the luxury of following their heart, and sometimes practicality must take precedence. The first impression of Iom is a haughty princess who thinks she knows better than everyone else. But as the story progresses, you realize she sincerely cares about her people and wants to lead them well. She is brave and strong when faced with adversity, she is willing to sacrifice herself for her people, and she knows her and Gaborn's strengths lie in different areas. The world of the Rune Lords feels massive. Not only are there the different countries and cultures of the humans, but there are also fantastical races, wights that can interact with the living, endowment magic and elemental-wielding wizards, and characters called Days who follow the royals around, documenting every second of their lives. Most of this is standard fare in a fantasy novel, but usually only one or two of these elements is incorporated into a story and expanded upon. Here, they are all present, but Farland manages to mesh them together so none feel out of place or random, lending a richness to the world. Endowments are the Rune Lord's unique magic system, and one of the main drivers of the plot. Basically, people can give their physical and mental attributes to another, and that attribute is enhanced in the receiver. However, the giver loses whatever is relinquished, and often in extreme ways. If strength is given, the person on the receiving end will become stronger, but the person who gifted the strength will become an invalid. If you give your sight, you will go blind. If you give intelligence, you will become dumb. This practice obviously raises some moral questions, and it goes hand in hand with Gaborn's struggle between practicality and heart. The issues I had with this book can all be lumped together under structure problems. There are many great character moments, but they often lack the necessary setup, which unfortunately downgrades the great moments to just good moments. This also applies to some of the plot points. The overall story is enjoyable, but some plot threads reach fruition before you even realize they're ripening, and others are too convenient or are borderline contrived. Characters make sudden decisions without cause or change their minds on the fly. The romantic subplot tries to build a foundation for the relationship, but still ends up feeling very insta-love. The first chapter is a very bizarre opening for an epic fantasy novel. The argument could be made that the author wanted his readers to feel as awkward as Gaborn does, but I still think it was an odd choice. There is one romantic scene that receives some heavy description. Thankfully, the characters don't go very far, but if the scene had progressed further than it does, I would have had to start skimming. Other than this one scene, the sexual references and profanities are minor. Some of the injuries characters sustain during battle can also be very descriptive, which might bother people who are sensitive to that kind of content. The Rune Lords is an example of the execution not living up to the idea, but for all its structural problems, it's still an enjoyable read with good, moving character moments and a magic system of questionable morality. The potential is definitely there, and I'm hoping it will be properly cultivated in the rest of the series.